Well, the studs were up, and Newcastle's desperate start to the season goes from bad to worse. It does indeed. Isaac Hayden, not for the first time in his career, it has to be said, being sent off. It was a cowardly challenge really on Dennis Praet. The only saving grace, Andy Reid, is that Praet seemingly okay to continue, but you'll have been in dressing rooms, you may have been sent off yourself and had to face your teammates at half time. What will the mood be like inside that Newcastle dressing room? Will there be an apology from Isaac Hayden?
I should hope so, because his teammates deserve one, and I would hope that the teammates are looking for one. You know, you need that in a squad. You know, they're struggling as it is, so they need to have that little bit of bite about them. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I'm not saying that you want people fighting or you want people arguing all the time, but there has to be a little bit of, come on, you've let us down there, you know, and he'll feel that he owes them one now moving forward. He is a tough player, he likes to tackle, he gets about the place, but there's no excuse for that tackle. It was really, really poor, and you know, and as I said after it happened, he's let his teammates down there, he's let his manager down there, he's let all them fans who've travelled all the way down from Newcastle, and you could hear them, you know, cheering throughout the whole half, even though they had very, very little to cheer about, and you know, he's kind of let all them down. So disappointing by him, and it just gives them, you know, it was an uphill kind of battle for them anyway, but it just gives them a mountain to climb now if they're going to get out of this game.
And for Leicester City now, surely the chance to go out and run in a convincing victory in the second half.
Well, you would think so. On the face of it, it would appear so. However, it could make it more difficult for Leicester in the second half. It means Newcastle will be even less adventurous than what they were, if that's possible.
They might not come out for the second half.
You know, so they'll you know, I know they had a lot of people behind the ball, but they'll hold their shape a lot more rigid now, and they'll hope to get a couple of set pieces and maybe see if they can get something from that. So it's going to be a different thing for Leicester now. That, you know, they're still going to be in lots of possession, but they're going to have to kind of really pick up them pockets, really get in between defenders, move the ball nice and quick. If they move it slow, it'll just give Newcastle time to reorganise, so they need to move the ball a lot quicker.
So that's the views then of Andy Reid on the first half of what we've seen here. Leicester 1, 10-man Newcastle 0 is the score. It's the penultimate game. What's been a fabulous weekend in the Premier League, it has to be said, and the main event really is still to come tomorrow night. One of the iconic fixtures of the Premier League era, Manchester United against Arsenal. Let's hear from the Arsenal manager, Unai Emery.
He made a mistake. Yes, really, he made. The most important is analyze, to learn, and to correct that mistakes, and the future is going to say to us. But our challenge and his challenge is change that opinion, and above all with a personality, and improving each match, improving and giving us his help every time.
That's Unai Emery there, talking about the fact that Arsenal have made Granit Xhaka, Andy Reid, their new club captain. Really, in many ways, is that just a reflection that they don't have too many leaders?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, it's a tricky one for Emery. You have to pick a captain, you want to pick leaders, but he's struggling for people to pick from. There's lots of lovely footballers in Arsenal's team, some really, really good players, but not so many captains, not so many leaders in the team, which is something that they're looking for. There's less and less of them in the game nowadays, though, so they're very, very difficult to kind of come across, and Arsenal haven't had one for quite a long time, and so it will have been a difficult job for him to do. What he could possibly have done is had maybe a leadership team, maybe pass the armband around to maybe 2 or 3 players and see if that can bring on all their kind of captaincy skills, their leadership skills, and try and help them all improve. I know I remember Dean Smith done something similar at Brentford a couple of years ago, and it worked really, really well for them.
Well, Manchester United against Arsenal, 8 o'clock kick-off tomorrow night here on Premier League Live, and if any team needs leaders, it's going to be Newcastle in this second half, down to 10 men and a goal down against Leicester. Kick-off is on the way next. You're listening to Premier League Live.
I'm Sam Matterface, and this is Game Day. TalkSport has your weekend covered as we give you a series of exclusive podcasts bringing you total coverage of the Premier League with a trio of top podcasts. On Thursday, myself and a legendary lineup of pros and pundits will preview the action to all 10 Premier League matches.
On Saturday, it's Your Verdict with me, Laura Woods, and Adrian Durham, bringing you all the reaction and the very best of the phone-in.
On Monday morning, it's the turn of the record book with me, Danny Kelly. I'll be joined by the very best guests as we look back at all the weekend's action, going down the odd tangent as well, all on the way.
Subscribe now to the Game Day podcast on Acast, Spotify or iTunes.
The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Hello, I'm Andy Goldstein, and of course you can hear me on the Sports Bar with Jason Cundy. We'll be taking all your calls, text, tweets and emails on all the big talking points from the weekend's football. And remember, we bring you the very first look at the next day's back page headlines every single night.
The Sports Bar, weeknights from 10 on Talk Sport.
Jim White and Natalie Sawyer. Weekday mornings from 10 on Talk Sport.
I think it's all about involvement.
The new sound of mid-mornings on Talk Sport with Jim White and Natalie Sawyer.
Pulling your spot on with that.
News-breaking, globe-spanning, mid-morning football talk.
But just for me, I find it a little bit cringy.
Legal, honest, decent, fair.
Maybe that's going to be contentious, but that's what I do.
White and Sawyer.
You don't play, you don't get a medal.
Weekday mornings from 10.
I'm trying my best here.
On Talk Sport.
Hawksby and Jacobs, weekday afternoons from 1 on Talk Sport.
One Man Went to Moan was a great idea from one of the listeners for Andy's Edinburgh show, and we thought that would be a good bit in the show, but it's not a bit, it's the show, isn't it, really?
The afternoon radio show that's too cool for school. Hawksby and Jacobs.
He immediately got out a red coat. Oh, he's gone. Then he got out a yellow coat.
Weekday afternoons from 1.
Then he got a 7 of diamonds out.
And then
on Talk Sport.
As we look down from the cradle of our hot air balloon, we wonder as a svelte ocean of stampeding gazelles gallop majestically earthbound towards a waterhole.
Somebody say a Waterloo. Lovely. Mine's a pint. The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, Monday morning from 6 o'clock.
Your natural selection for the big game, bodacious banter and hookers. The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, Monday morning from 6 on Talk Sport.
Adrian Durham, what an absolute clown.
Dynamic, double strength, drive time radio.
Shall I stay?
I don't like listening to him, I'll turn off.
Do you want me to stay?
Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
He's an idiot.
Right, who hands up, who wants me to stay?
Drive time radio.
I don't have to.
Weekdays from 4, only on Talk Sport.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Leicester City against Newcastle United from the King Power Stadium. I'm your host, Alex Crook. Alongside me is the former Tottenham, Nottingham Forest and Republic of Ireland midfielder Andy Reid. This is Premier League Live, where I've just had Newcastle's next 3 fixtures thrust in front of me. Doesn't get any easier, Andy. Manchester United, Chelsea and Wolves. You can't see, on the basis of what we've watched so far, Newcastle picking up too many points from those 3 matches. I suppose even at this early stage of the season, they could be 10 games in, at least second from bottom, if not bottom. How long has Steve Bruce got?
It's crazy, isn't it, that, you know, that we're even talking about that. You know, so early in the season, and yet we're talking about whether he's going to be in the job in 3 or 4 games. But it's a results-driven business, you know, and it means so much financially if Newcastle get relegated, and Mike Ashley knows that. So will he keep letting it go on the way it's going on? No. He can't. He has to do something. You know. Now listen. The problem is, who do you bring in, and you've still got the same group of players to work with.
Who would want the job? I mean, it's not the most attractive position in the Premier League, is it? When you look at the resources available, the fact the owner doesn't want to invest any money. Credit to Jamal Lascelles, by the way, just out trying to be that leader that we were talking about. Very demonstrative with his teammates as they emerge from the tunnel, but Steve Bruce looks pretty resigned to his fate already, certainly as far as this afternoon is concerned. A grimace on the face of the Newcastle manager.
Yeah, he looks a little bit down about it, and listen, you would be standing there on the touchline, and it can be a lonely place. Steve Agnew is there next to him, but once the whistle blows, he'll get back into the dugout, and Steve Bruce will be stood there. He's down to 10 men. He's 1-0 down against a really good free flow.
Shot on target.
Yeah, a shot on target, and it'll be a lonely place for him. And but he's experienced. He's a fighter. He's seen it all before. He's been in relegation battles before, so he'll know what to do.
We are back off and underway here on Premier League Live, the penultimate game of this action-packed weekend. Remember, Manchester United at home to Arsenal will come tomorrow, 8 o'clock kickoff in the company of Tom Rennie and Paul Parker, who, when I recorded a podcast, the Game Day podcast, earlier this week, said this could be Manchester United's most embarrassing Premier League season.
Well, listen, they haven't got off to a great start, and they don't look like it's going to be a great season for them. It could be another season where Man United fans have to suck it up and watch Liverpool and watch Man City absolutely dominate.
Well, that's for tomorrow. For this afternoon, the challenge for 10-man Newcastle is to come back from a goal down. Ricardo, the scorer for Leicester on 16 minutes, both sides unchanged from the teams that ended the first half. Schmeichel in goal for Leicester, Ricardo, Sayuncu, Evans and Chilwell in front of him. Then comes Ndidi, Perez, Tielemans, Pratt and Barnes behind Jamie Vardy up front. Tielemans looking to get the cross into the penalty area. Lascelles will clear it away for Newcastle, who have Dubravka in goal, Kraft, Cher, Lascelles and Dummett in defence. It's a midfield now of Atsu, Key, Longstaff and Almiron, with Joe Ellington the isolated striker. Newcastle down to 10. Isaac Hayden, who by the way is the first player, the only player to have been sent off twice in the Premier League since the start of last season, dismissed towards the end of the first half for a terrible challenge on Dennis Pratt.
You wonder how long Steve Bruce will be giving it before he's thinking about getting Andy Carroll on the pitch and kind of saying to his players, listen, get the ball up to Andy Carroll and we'll get men around him and we'll try and create something there. He causes havoc from set pieces, or if they can play a bit of territory game, play some balls down the sides and maybe see if they can win some throw-ins further up the pitch, some corners, and get the ball in, and you never know what's going to happen with Andy Carroll on the pitch. I would imagine that's what's kind of going around in his head now, because Joe Wellington has been very, very ineffective in the game so far. Granted, he hasn't had much service, but Andy Carroll will bring that physical presence to it, and you might be able to get something off him.
Just been penalised, Joe Ellington, for backing into Johnny Evans. That's for taking the free kick. We played 2.5 minutes in the second half. Leicester 1, 10-man Newcastle 0. The score. Here's Ricardo. Jose Perez trying to put Cher under pressure, but a bit overzealous, and it's a free kick for the Newcastle defender. The away side have won the last 4 meetings between these two. Only 4 fixtures in Premier League history have seen 5 successive away victories. It would be a tremendous turnaround from Newcastle if they could produce that in the second half. Here's Key, the former Swansea man. Leicester trying to pen back their opponents. Tielemans looking for Vardy. Lascelles steps in, the captain, and clears once more for Newcastle. I think he's had a pretty decent game. Lascelles, the heart of that overworked Newcastle defence. Here is Kraft, one back by Ndidi, and Sayuncu gets there ahead of Atsu, and it will be a throw-in now for Leicester City.
With Jamal Lascelles is he has got that bit of character about him. He's got that bit of mental strength. I played with him at Nottingham Forest when he was just a young kid, and he really had that presence about him, and he had that strength of character that you want to see in your defender. So he'll be one of them that he won't give up. He'll keep going, he'll keep rallying the troops, he'll try and keep everybody on board and keep them going in the right direction. It's difficult at times when you're in a position like this.
Yeah, Leicester just playing keep ball really in the opening 4 minutes of this second half. Foxes, who've lost only 3 of their last 15 matches, going back to the latter stages of last season. They finished 8th in each of the last 2 campaigns, looking to improve on that this season. Tielemans with a little deft header. Barnes has got some space on the corner of the area. He didn't quite come down for him. Chilwell keeps it alive for Leicester. Stands up the cross for Vardy. Oh, it's just over the head of Perez. And it looked like he might get a shooting chance. Ricardo crosses it back towards the far post of Barnes, who was climbing all over Kraft, and it will be a free kick for Newcastle. But that was good play from Leicester, working the ball from left to right.
Yeah, really good. And Tielemans has even more of a licence now that Newcastle are down to 10 men to get forward. So you see him getting into them forward areas, making them late runs, and Harvey Barnes. You just get a sense that the second goal is coming. You know, it seems to me a matter of time now before that second goal does arrive.
Leicester 1, 10-man Newcastle 0. At TalkSport Live, remember the Twitter address. Don Philip Manori from Nigeria says he always enjoys our commentary. I'm sure plenty of Leicester City fans are enjoying listening around the globe. Those of you of Newcastle persuasion perhaps not so much. Christian Atsu manhandled by Ndidi. This is a free kick in a dangerous position for Newcastle, and when you're down to 10 men, these are the type of positions, Andy Reid, that you have to really take advantage of.
Yeah, very much so, and this is the type of position that you want to have Andy Carroll on the pitch when you're in. You know, it's a good position. It needs good delivery now. You know, for Longstaff, just settle down, make sure you get it right, put the ball into the right area, and give them the best opportunity to go on the end of it, because this is going to be the best opportunity to score. There's no doubt about that.
Sean Longstaff, who's missed the last 2 games with an ankle problem, puts it into the penalty area. Sells and Joe Linton rise for the ball. Joe Linton claims he was being manhandled, but the officials unimpressed. It's going to be a goal kick which Schmeichel has taken quickly.
I don't think it was a particularly good free kick from Longstaff. There was no real pace on it. It wasn't really into the right area. It was too far off the back, and sometimes them ones, if you put a bit more pace in them, bring them in a little bit, aim for the back post, sometimes they can even drift in themselves, and it just didn't really give anybody the opportunity to do anything with it.
It's almost a microcosm of Newcastle's performance, not just today but over the course of the season in general. Unambitious with the free kick and the way it was played in, lacked conviction, and it was a difficult one for Joe Ellington to try and attack.
Even if he does get a header on it, there's no power, there's no pace. He's kind of probably 12, 15 yards out. It would have been very, very difficult for him to get any power onto it.
Played forward by Longstaff, but again, nobody in a black and white shirt in the vicinity of the Leicester City half. There's probably about a dozen managers watching this afternoon and thinking, that's okay, there's one relegation place guaranteed. Newcastle do look like the team this season who could be the new Huddersfield, the new Fulham. Here is Ricardo, the goal scorer for Leicester. I think Brendan Rodgers will be a little bit frustrated if his side don't go on and win more handsomely. Chilwell really send out a statement to those, the likes of West Ham and Everton, those competing to get into the top 6. This is Chilwell into the feet of Tielemans, given away by Tielemans, and Almiron, who, to be fair to him, has looked dangerous when in possession. On this occasion doesn't make the most of it, does win a throw.
His main job, Almiron, is in this team is getting them up the pitch. You know,
he's done that though, isn't he?
He has done at times, but it's so difficult for him. You know, he has to kind of beat 2 or 3 players before he's able to do anything, and you can't do that every time you get on the ball. You have to have options. You have to have people to bounce off. You have to have people making runs, and it's been difficult for him. And to be fair to him, he's kept trying to get on the ball, and he's kept trying to get them up the pitch.
There's Pratt raking through ball, seeking out Barnes. Barnes first time into Jamie Vardy, who's going to shoot here, and the goalkeeper couldn't keep it out. And Jamie Vardy surely now wins the game for Leicester. 9 minutes into the second half, it was Route 1 really. And Jamie Vardy, well, he never needs a second invitation to get his shot away. Maybe Dubravka will be disappointed that he's been beaten at his near post, but Jamie Vardy makes it 4 goals in 5 Premier League games and makes it Leicester City 2, Newcastle 0. Wow. Was there a suspicion maybe that Barnes was offside when he received the pass? I wonder if VAR might check that. We've just seen one angle on our monitor that maybe raises that suspicion, Andy. It was a good finish by Vardy, but should Dubravka have done better?
Dubravka's got to save that. Vardy has, it's a decent enough strike on his left foot, but the keeper at his near post has got to save that. It's very, very disappointing. It was a well-worked move. You said it was route one. For me, that's not route one. That was a great ball that Pratt has played into a great position for Barnes. There was lobbed it over the defender's head, and Vardy has ran onto it. It's a really well-worked move. Sometimes when teams are pressing you really hard, if they're trying to win the ball back in the midfield area, that ball over the fullback's head is a great get-out ball, and they've done it really, really well there. The keeper's got to save that.
So Jamie Vardy on the score sheet once again for Leicester, and with 9 minutes gone in the second half, it's now Leicester City 2, 10-man Newcastle 0. VAR would have cast their eye over the Barnes run. Onside is the decision.
See, you were looking at there, and straight away you thought of VAR, and we should have been talking about the goal and celebrating the goal, but we're thinking about VAR. I hadn't even thought about VAR until you mentioned it, but it's there.
Bit of a killjoy at heart. Well, Vardy delighted that the goal has stood, and Newcastle United now, well, they will just want the final whistle as quickly as possible. Goals from Ricardo in the first half and Vardy early in this second, sealing the win. It's just a question of how many now. Barnes once again with a positive run inside the area, half cleared by Longstaff. Leicester play it back towards Barnes, who can't make his stick this time, and here's Longstaff again, dinks it forward. Joe Ellington weak in the challenge. Soyuncu stamps it out for a Newcastle throw.
Harvey Barnes has been excellent this afternoon. Remember the start of last season when he went on loan to West Brom. I've seen him a couple of times playing for them, and he was really, really good. And then when he got called back, I know West Brom were very, very disappointed. And to see how he's gone from strength to strength, and he looks a real performer in this team. They look to get him on the ball, and more often than not, he comes up with something.
It's all Leicester now. Here's Ricardo into Pratt, deflected and in. Leicester City have their third goal. They've scored twice in 3 minutes. Dennis Pratt with his first goal in Leicester City colours makes it Leicester City 3, Newcastle 0.
Well, we question the goalkeeper for the last goal. There's nothing he can do about this. It's a deflection. I feel for Dummett. He's tried to defend properly, but it's come from sloppy play as well. It was a good ball by Ndidi, and Pratt has just got to slide it across the box for Vardy at the back post. The defender has stuck out his leg to try and block it, and it's just gone in at the near post. And when it's not going for you, it's not going for you. And Newcastle, they haven't been playing particularly well, and they haven't got any luck at all. And some people would say you make your own luck, but it's a good game, set and match, and Newcastle now have to batten down the hatches, or it could end up being a very hefty scoreline.
Well, the shot's gone in on Paul Dummett in the end. Leicester are going to make a change. You can only think that Harvey Barnes must have picked up a knock of some description, because he has made way, and Mark Albrighton, one of the title-winning team from 2016, is coming on.
I think in relation to Barnes, I would say that Brendan Rodgers is probably trying to protect him a little bit. He's still a young player, and he needs looking after as well, so he sees the perfect opportunity. Give him a little bit of a rest. The game is won, the game is tied up.
So Leicester 3, Newcastle 0. Leicester at the double early in this second half, and well, you do fear for Newcastle now with the 10 men that this could turn into a rout. Albrighton straight away pulls it back for Vardy, and he misses his kick when it looked for all the world as if he would sweep home from 12 yards, and Newcastle have a let-off. What a chance, Andy.
Well, what an introduction from Albrighton. He's played a lovely one too, and he's pulled the ball back beautifully for Vardy. And normally we see him take, be really, really composed and sweep them balls in, as you say. It was on his left foot, admittedly, but you would expect him to do better.
That third Leicester goal at the moment has been credited as a Paul Dummett own goal. Premier League deciding that the shot from Pratt wasn't on target. So the man from Sampdoria will have to wait to celebrate his first goal for the Foxes.
Well, just look at Newcastle there in that last attack. They've committed 5 men forward, and straight away I'm thinking to myself, transition. If they give away the ball, Leicester can be kind of really at them, and you want to be a little bit adventurous, but you can't really be. You're 3-0 down, you're down to 10 men. It's a really difficult position for Steve Bruce and for these Newcastle players out there on the pitch.
Here's Chilwell, rides a couple of challenges, chips it forward for Jamie Vardy, bounces off Vardy across the 6-yard box. Perez, how he'd love a goal against his former club. Lays it off for Ricardo though, right corner of the area. Now Ndidi. Leicester swarming all over Newcastle. Albrighton having just come on. Cuts in from the left-hand side, crosses for Ricardo just trying to chip it, I think, back for Jamie Vardy. He's ended up on the roof of the net. Well, they're in the mood for more goals.
What a start Albrighton has made to this game since he's come on. He's been absolutely fantastic. It's a great ball out to Ricardo, who just tries to knock it back across goal, just couldn't pull it back quite enough, and Vardy would have had a tap in. It's like a training game at the moment. It really is. Leicester are just pinning Newcastle in. They're pressing them when they've got the ball. Newcastle can't get out, they can't keep the ball, and you sense more goals in this game.
Andy Carrow's coming on, doesn't look particularly chuffed about it. Newcastle chasing shadows, really. Here's stripped and ready for action. It's given away cheaply by the visitors. One back by Lascelles, still trying to marshal his troops, and it's played out to the left hand side, and Paul Dummett. Now Key out to the right, and Kraft. Albrighton snapping away, trying to win it back for Leicester. It's out for a throw, and here comes that Newcastle change. Andy Carroll, in fact, is going to have to wait for his introduction. The throw's been taken quickly. Dummett looking to atone for the own goal, crosses towards the far post. Chilwell will head it clear under no real pressure inside the Leicester penalty area. Here is Yuri Tillemans out to Albrighton once again, who's been full of energy, full of commitment and desire since coming on. Could be a message there to one or two of these Newcastle players who have been lacking in heart. Jose Perez. Dennis Pratt, midway inside the Newcastle half, guides it out to the right, and Ricardo. Terrific outlet on this near side. Score of the first Leicester goal on 16 minutes, added to by Vardy, and a Paul Dummett own goal early in this second half. A great stat about Jamie Vardy under Brendan Rodgers. Since Rodgers came in, Jamie Vardy has scored 13 times in 17 games for Leicester. And if you remember, towards the end of Claude Puel's tenure, he wasn't even in the team.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? A different style of play, a different philosophy, a different outlook on things. It's amazing the effect that it can have on certain players. But Brendan Rodgers is tactically astute, and he'll know that Vardy is such a threat, but you just have to use him in the right way, and that way is to leave him out. He doesn't need to get involved in the build-up play. Let the players like Tillemans get on the ball. Let the players like Barnes, Albrighton, now that he's on, Perez, let them get on the ball, and let Vardy almost kind of stay out of the play, and then when they do get forward, then he can make his runs, and when they do create that space, he can make his runs for them to slip him in.
Andy Carroll has come on for Joe Ellington for the final 27 minutes here on Premier League Live. Don't forget, tomorrow Manchester United against Arsenal from Old Trafford. Our build-up starts at 19:30 UK time. Tom Rennie and Paul Parker, your commentary team for that one. Here's a Jose Perez for Leicester, trying to play it forward quickly for Vardy. Cleared by Dummett, picked up again by Dennis Pratt. The most damning indictment of Newcastle performance is that Leicester have barely noticed that they don't have James Maddison, their talisman, in midfield. Here is Albrighton towards Vardy again. Oh, it must be another. Jamie Vardy heads his second. And this embarrassing afternoon for Newcastle goes on and on and on. Too easy with the way they picked their way through. Albrighton with a cross. Vardy headed it down and beyond Dubravka to make it Leicester 4, Newcastle 0.
Well, Albrighton has been excellent since he's come on. You know, the Newcastle fullback must have been thinking, oh, I'm glad Harvey Barnes has gone on. And then when he's seen Albrighton, he's thinking to himself, oh, what am I going to do now? He's been excellent. He's set up 2 great chances. He's been involved in everything. That was a cracking ball across. He just took Dummett out of the play. Vardy hung off the back post, and it was a lovely weighted ball. And Vardy from 3 yards out just had to nod it in, left him with hardly anything to do.
Well, there's still 25 minutes remaining. Leicester lead 10-man Newcastle by 4 goals to 0. Could be 7 or 8 by the end of the afternoon.
It most certainly could be. The way Leicester are playing, and you look at Newcastle and the heads have gone down. And you know, understandably so, but you've just got to keep fighting. You know, you have to keep fighting. You have to keep playing for that club. You have to keep playing for the supporters. You have to keep playing for the manager and for each other as well. It's embarrassing if you're going to be out there on the end of some of them on the end of this scoreline. So
we mentioned Steve Bruce's position, and you were rightly saying, you know, he needs time, but this is the type of gutless performance that gets managers the sack.
Yeah, 100%. You know, the Newcastle hierarchy will be looking at this, and they will be feeling embarrassed as well, and they will be thinking to themselves, we've got no chance of staying up based on this performance.
Leicester City fans in tremendous spirit. They are going 3rd in the Premier League table. They lead Newcastle by 4 goals to 0. And here is Dennis Pratt. Newcastle have barely got out of their own half in this second period. Ricardo into Jose Perez. Pratt with a loose ball. Vardy hat-trick hunting, but it's over his head, and it's cleared away to Ndidi. Ndidi bulldozing his way through. Still going here, Ndidi. Vardy trying to keep it alive after Newcastle initially got it away. Here's Chilwell. Pulls it back, and it's turned behind by Lascelles. He looks bemused at the way that his Newcastle teammates are just letting Leicester swarm all over them in the final third.
You know, some of Leicester's play has been really, really good, and you can't take that away from them. But you know, when there's balls there to be won 50-50s and tackles in the middle of the park, I mean, indeed he's just brushed past 3 Newcastle players there, and you know, and it's been easy for him. You know, the least you want to see from your team is a little bit of fight, a little bit of courage, put them tackles in.
Corner to the near post. Wasn't the best delivery from Tielemans, and Perez couldn't really make a clean connection. Here's Albrighton though, and he's been brought down by a rash challenge from Longstaff, and a free kick here within range for Leicester. Chance maybe to make it 5-0. Clumsy from Longstaff as much as anything, didn't get the ball, and he's lucky to escape a yellow card, I think. Maybe the referee Craig Pawson taking pity on Newcastle there. Youri Tielemans might just fancy his shooting chances here. Dubravka, the goalkeeper, cuddling the near post. 3-4 Newcastle players in the wall. Chilwell is up as well.
It looks like he's going to have a shot, but there's an overload at the back post there. You know, if you look at the defenders there, you've got four attackers against 3 defenders, because Newcastle have 4 in the wall.
Johnny Evans has come forward, and Ndidi there as well, waiting to pounce. Chilwell with a cross, poor one, blocked by the wall, and Albrighton under pressure from Almiron, just trying to wash it out of play, realised it wasn't going to go and keeps it in, and then Albrighton penalised for a foul on Key. It's a free kick in the right back position for Newcastle. They trail 4-0. We've played 68 minutes here on Premier League Live.
Disappointing free kick from Chilwell there. You know, as we said, there was an overload. Perez was free at the back post. He just needed to get more height on it to get him in.
Steve Bruce still bellowing from the touchline. He knows this has the makings of a very humiliating afternoon for Newcastle United. Still almost a quarter of the game remaining. 4-0 the score. Ricardo opening the scoring on 16 minutes. Jamie Vardy striking early in the second half. Then we saw the own goal from Dummett, deflecting Pratt's shot beyond his own goalkeeper, and Vardy again heading in on 64 after finding himself completely free inside the Newcastle 6-yard box. This against the Newcastle side who've won 2 of the last 3 meetings between the pair. It's not going to be 3 from 4, that's for sure.
You know, you go back, although Leicester were on top when it was 11v11 and, you know, they were dominating, they didn't have so many chances. You know, they had a couple of decent chances and they scored one goal, and, you know, you take it back to that Hayden sending off, and I don't think Newcastle would have won the game with 11 men, but I don't think it would have been this scoreline at this stage if they had had 11 men.
I was speaking to a lifelong Leicester City fan on my way into the game, and he was saying it could be a difficult afternoon without Maddison, and the fact that Newcastle have won here in each of the last 2 seasons, it's been far from difficult. It's been too easy, and that will be the most frustrating thing for Steve Bruce. It's the old question: what positives can Newcastle take out this afternoon?
Absolutely none. You know, there is no positives. It's disappointing all round. I would look on the glass half full side of thing from a Leicester point of view. I think Leicester have been excellent. Their passing, their movement, their desire, their work rate, their composure, all them things that a top team needs. Leicester have had that today, and I think they've shown that all season. You know, watch them in the first game of the season, or early on in the season against Chelsea, and they were excellent at Stamford Bridge, and they seem to have taken that on and gone from strength to strength.
Indeed, with a stooping header for Tillemans, who's going to shoot on the volley. Right idea, wrong technique, over the crossbar and into those suffering Newcastle fans behind the goal. DeAndre Yedlin is the latest player about to be called upon by Steve Bruce from the bench. And Leicester genuine top 4 contenders this season?
I'm not too sure. They're a really, really good side. I think Brendan, as I said earlier, I'm a big fan of Brendan Rodgers. I think he's done excellent everywhere he goes. I think he could build them into being top 4 contenders. You know, you've got to remember he's not in the job all that long. He's only had one transfer window to work in, so you know, he could build them into a top, to challenge it to be the top 4. It's difficult to compete against them top 4 with the finances that they've got, but listen, that will be, I'm sure, Brendan Rodgers' aim.
It'll be a great game next weekend away at Anfield against Liverpool. Different opponents we alluded to in the first half, but Leicester will go there brimming in confidence. Here's Albrighton, certainly not displayed a lack of confidence since coming on. Can't quite pick out Vardy inside the area. He'll be desperate for the hat-trick, won't he, Jamie Vardy, in these final 18 minutes?
Yeah, goal scorers love that, don't they? They just want more and more and more, you know, and they can't satisfy that kind of that itch. And that's what you want to see from your centre-forward. You see him now, you know, they're 4-0 up, but he's still making them runs. Good runs as well. He's a very, very clever player.
We'll support you evermore is the cry from the Newcastle United supporters. Credit to them for that, and what's been another thoroughly depressing afternoon for the Magpies, and certainly not turning on Steve Bruce and the players so far here this afternoon. Still Leicester City who are dominating possession. Ricardo striding forward purposely over the halfway line, back to Dennis Pratt, who's been excellent in midfield. Pratt plays it out to the left, and Chilwell to a man you can't really pinpoint a Leicester player who hasn't done their job for the team. Complete opposite as far as Newcastle are concerned. Here's Ricardo attacking the right hand side of the 18-yard box into Jose Perez, working doggedly as ever. It's a trait that Newcastle fans know he possesses, and he's won a throw here down by the corner flag.
Leicester want more goals here. You can see that players are still making the runs. You know, the ball's just gone out for a throw in there, and Ricardo's ran over to get the ball. They're 4-0 up with 18-19 minutes left, and they still want to get on the ball quickly. They still want to get more goals, and it's good to see. But you know, the Newcastle heads will be thinking, come on.
DeAndre Yedlin has come on to replace Almiron. It's the American's first appearance since April due to injury. Not the circumstances in which he would have hoped to make his comeback. Ricardo with a throw to Perez. Here's Ricardo again. Time to put his foot over the ball and then roll it calmly through for Ndidi. This is Chilwell. Albrighton hugging that left touchline. Here's Chilwell again, the Leicester fullback well forward. Hasn't had to worry too much about defending his penalty area. I still don't think Newcastle have had a shot on target. Here's Ndidi out to the right, and Ricardo. Vardy waiting at the far post. That's where it's steered in. Bounces for Albrighton to Tielemans, deflected and over the bar for a corner. They were queuing up Leicester there to make it 5-0.
There's lovely shape on that ball by Ricardo. He gets the ball out of his feet, whips it into that corridor of uncertainty where defenders don't really want to head it, and it's a really difficult one to defend. He's been excellent today as well, Ricardo.
15 minutes remaining. Leicester 4, Newcastle 0. Sean Keaton, listening from North Dakota, loving his Foxes, has tweeted at TalkSport Live. As Yuri Tielemans lines up to take the home side's 6th corner of the afternoon, under the floodlights now at the King Power Stadium, towards the far post, over the head of Soyuncu. Wasn't Tielemans' best contribution of the afternoon, I think it's fair to say, and it will be a throw-in now for Newcastle. Steve Bruce still out on his feet on the edge of the technical area. Damage limitation now in the final 15 minutes as far as Newcastle are concerned.
You do worry about the ramifications of this result for Steve Bruce. It's as you said earlier on, it's not conducive to positivity. It's working totally against it, and
I don't think he'll sugarcoat it afterwards. He's not the type of manager to do so, is he?
Well, he can't sugarcoat it, even if he wanted to, but he will tell his players in no uncertain terms that it's not good enough. He knows that. He knows what it takes to stay in this division, because he's had teams, and he'll know that a performance like this is relegation form, is relegation performance, and he'll tell his players, because he has to. And one thing that you will say from him, he'll stand up and be counted himself, and he won't hide, and he'll come out in front of the press and he'll say whatever he needs to say, and he'll tell everybody.
What did you make of the Chris Wilder interview yesterday when he was asked if he would console Dean Henderson after that horrendous error that gifted Liverpool the win at Bramall Lane? We played it earlier in the build-up to kick off, and he said no, he's a big boy, he's made a mistake in front of the world and he needs to get over it.
Yeah, well, you do. Football is very unforgiving, but one thing that does happen, and it happens, every single player in every game will make a mistake. If a keeper makes a mistake, it's a goal. So that's the difference with a keeper. But every single player in a game will make a mistake. Every single manager throughout a game will make a mistake in a tactical change, in a substitution. So you have to stand up and be counted, and you can't let the body, you have to just move on with it. And that's where mental strength comes into, and I think that's what we need to try and work with our players, our young players, on mental strength and keeping them, strong.
Tielemans with a cross for Leicester after a short corner on the left-hand side, headed away by Andy Carroll. Sliding in was Chilwell. He's back with Ricardo now inside the centre circle. It's almost like a testimonial now, pre-season friendly. Leicester just stroking the ball around, dictating the pace of the game.
The last change that Steve Bruce made there when he put Yedling on, he's put him on the right side, but he's a full-back, and so he's just wanted somebody a little bit more defensive minded there. Shut up shop, let's not concede anymore, we'll take our medicine, get back on the bus and get home and try and review it tomorrow.
A long journey home for Steve Bruce and those travelling Newcastle fans as well. Chilwell in the area, well defended in the end by Kraft, just ushering the ball back to the goalkeeper Dubravka. Nothing he could do about any of the 4 Newcastle goals that we've seen so far. 4-0 the score, but the real turning point of the game, although they were already in control by that stage, Leicester, was the sending off of Isaac Hayden 2 minutes before half time for a reckless challenge on Dennis Pratt. Newcastle just haven't been able to recover from that setback.
I think the sending off has made a difference to the scoreline, but I don't think it's made a difference to the game flow
or the outcome of the result.
Yeah, I just think the amount of goals that have scored is probably because of the sending off. But Leicester were totally dominating before the sending off. They had got 1 goal, they probably would have got another 1 or 2.
Change here for Leicester. Warm applause for Dennis Pratt. Arguably his most convincing performance in a Leicester shirt so far. Hamza Chowdhury comes on to make the 50th league appearance of his fledgling career. Chowdhury, who celebrates his 22nd birthday next week. Dennis Pratt getting a high five from all of his teammates as he makes his way to the bench. 73% possession for Leicester, even more than Brighton manager St James's Park last weekend. These Newcastle players are used to chasing the ball.
So I was just going to say that Dennis Pratt done. He was excellent today. Done really, really well. He gives the freedom for around the pitch. He's always just mopping up things. He wins a lot of second balls and then gives the ball to Tielemans and gives the ball to Perez and these players. It allows them to play.
Indeed, he forward. Tielemans. Vardy's made a good run. Over on the left-hand side, Vardy coming infield and then strokes the ball out to the right. Ever-willing Ricardo forward for Perez, and he's continued his run inside the box. Ricardo wanted it played first time, but Perez comes back to Chowdhury instead. His first touch since coming on. Chilwell spots Albrighton in space. He's going to roll it to Tielemans on the edge of the box. Chilwell thought about crossing. Vardy urging him to switch the play, but they've gone back to the left again, and Albrighton. Newcastle chasing shadows as they have been for much of this second half. Evans out to the right, and Ricardo again. His goal in the 16th minute, setting Leicester on their way to a comprehensive victory this afternoon here on Premier League Live. Here is Youri Tielemans, the brilliant Belgian. What an impact he's made since coming in midway through last season. I was amazed, Andy, that Leicester didn't have to fight off more competition to make that loan move permanent.
Yeah, by all accounts from people that I've spoken to, he really wanted to come back, and fair play to him. He enjoyed last season when he was there. He really, really liked the club. I would imagine that he was very, very impressed with Brendan Rodgers, kind of having worked with him. So listen, that's how you get a top player like that. He has to want to come to the club, otherwise one of the bigger boys will kind of swallow him up. So I'm pleased that Leicester did, because he fits wonderfully into this team.
There is Chilwell. Mark Albrighton back to Tielemans. Tielemans digs the ball into the area, brought down by Ricardo. Appeals for handball, and it will be a free kick in the Newcastle left back position. It's a show of faith from Brendan Rodgers as well, wasn't it, when he was approached about the job? I think ideally he wanted to finish the season at Celtic and complete that treble. Leicester said, no, we want you in situ so you can run the rule over the players and be ready to go in the summer. He showed his commitment, and he's been rewarded.
Well, definitely, and I'll tell you why. Because Celtic were on the verge of doing the treble. So for him to kind of leave that, it was a big commitment. But I think it's shown now that it was, Celtic fans aren't particularly happy about it, and I think it still hurts some of them now. But if you look at the football that Leicester are producing now, would they be able to have done that if he didn't come in when he had? I don't think so. They'd still be working on it. They'd still be getting to it. If he'd have come in the summer, they'd still be working towards that. I think that kind of 6 months or so has done this team, working with Brendan Rodgers, the world of good.
He's had his setbacks along the way, sacked by Watford and Reading early in his managerial career, bombed out by Liverpool, of course, after coming so close to ending their long wait for the Championship. Rebuilt his reputation north of the border and has come back with a point to prove, and my word, is he proving it so far. Leicester are moving up to third place in the table tonight.
I think he was very lucky to lose his job at Liverpool. I think he did a fantastic job. He got them so close, and the job they done at Celtic was absolutely phenomenal. It's not just about, I know people say Rangers were out of the league for a couple of years, but I don't think it's just about the fact that they won all the trophies. I think it's the manner that they did it. Celtic were at a low ebb at the time. They didn't have a particularly strong side. He turned the whole club around and got them moving in the right direction, and some of the football that they played was fantastic, and he's transferred it down here to bring it to Leicester City Football Club.
Jose Perez is not going to mark his reunion with Newcastle with a goal as he makes way for Damari Gray for the final 8 minutes of this game. Damari Gray, the England under-21 international, scored against Luton in the League Cup in midweek, and he will come on for the final 6 minutes, actually.
He's so quick to marry Gray. If you're the fullback and you've been chasing around with 10 men for the last hour of the game, you kind of think to yourself, this is not what I want to see.
Newcastle fans, to their credit, still singing their hearts out in the away end. Stuck behind their team on a chastening afternoon in the East Midlands. Here is Chilwell for Leicester. And now Ndidi. Brighton trying to roll it forward for Chowdhury. Might break for Vardy on the edge of the area. Foul by Albrighton. Free kick. Over on the right hand side, Emil Kraft, who went down under that tackle. We'll support you evermore. Still is the chant emanating from that away section. Credit to the Newcastle fans for still trying to cheer their team on. Who's that team we all adore is the latest cry from those long-suffering supporters who've made the trek from St James's Park. It's Newcastle in possession inside their own half with Jamal Lascelles. Lascelles, neat footwork to get away from Chowdhury in towards Andy Carroll. Ball just bounces off Carroll, but they kept it. Here's Key on a rare foray forward, one back by Ricardo. And Brendan Rodgers would be fuming now if Leicester were to surrender their clean sheet in the final 4.5 minutes against the 10 men.
When Leicester do give away the ball, they press it so quickly afterwards. That first kind of 3, 4, 5 seconds after they give away the ball, they hunt in packs, they hunt in numbers, and they win it back more often than not. It's something that we've seen probably Barcelona do maybe, kind of 10, 12 years ago. That was their real ethos. We give it away, 3 seconds, can we win it back? And it's worked really, really well, and Leicester do it really well, and you can tell that Brendan Rodgers has worked on it.
And this is going to be a difficult place to come this season, isn't it? I mentioned earlier Newcastle, the only team to win at the King Power, with Brendan Rodgers in charge of Leicester. Not too many teams are going to pick up points on this ground. Not with Leicester in this kind of mood.
If you're going to challenge for Europe, or if you want to take to that next step and challenge to get into the top 4, your home form, it's essential. You need to make your home ground into a fortress.
We've certainly done that this afternoon. Leicester 4-0 up against 10-man Newcastle. Ricardo, who set the ball rolling with that early goal in the first half, chips it to Ndidi after flicking the ball up a couple of times with the right foot. Ricardo, the party tricks are coming out now for Leicester City. Chowdhury, big afro hair, out to the right, and Ricardo forward for Tielemans. It's almost effortless whenever he's on the ball, Youri Tielemans. Here's Evans now inside the Leicester half, I think. They look like they might have declared at 4, Andy. Good news as far as Newcastle are concerned.
Yeah, Newcastle, they've had to batten down the hatches there, and it's kind of a little bit too little too late, to be honest with you. 4, it's it's the manner of the performance as well as the goals that's worrying. I haven't seen too much fight from them. I haven't seen too much, it's difficult when you're behind the ball all the time and you don't have it, but you need to see that fight, you need to see that bit of desire when you play, not just, I was going to say when you play for a club like Newcastle United, but it's when you play for any football club.
Yellow card has been brandished to Fabian Schär, just caught Ndidi late. The first booking for Newcastle. Of course they did lose Hayden to a straight red card, but really when you're 4-0 down and you don't pick up any yellow cards, that almost portrays a lack of fight.
I understand the sentiment there. I'm not too sure I'd agree with you. I wouldn't be, if I was, there's different ways you can show fight. You can get the people and defend properly, you can tackle when the ball is there to be won and do it fairly. For me, that's fight, not just fouling somebody. I think it's an easy way out sometimes.
There's been no easy way out this afternoon for Newcastle. I'm sure there will be no easy way for Steve Bruce this season. If they are to stay up, they're going to have to do it the hard way. They're going to have to be more resilient than they have been this afternoon. The cross comes in from Tielemans and played behind by Cher. Corner number 8 for Leicester with a little over a minute remaining. Still time for a 5th goal for the Foxes. It's good defending by Cher facing his own goal. Yuri Tielemans to take the corner as he has throughout the afternoon. And we're into the final minute of the game. Tielemans with a delivery, right-footed, headed up and away by Dummett. Atsu completes the clearance, but it's put from the sky by Ricardo well forward. Here is Cresswell now for Leicester. Looks up, switches it to the right-hand side. Tielemans, the intended target, content to let the ball bounce off Atsu and behind for another corner. Got to say, from the corners, Newcastle have actually defended pretty well.
Yeah, they've got a lot of height in the team, so as I said earlier, I think Steve Bruce would be disappointed if they conceded from set pieces. I don't think, if there's probably one criticism, and it's a small criticism of Leicester, is the delivery from set plays probably hasn't been as good as it could have been.
Chilwell with the ball into the area though. Chance here for Ndidi! 5-0 Leicester City. It's a 5-star showing from the Foxes. More humiliation for Newcastle. Wilfred Ndidi with his 2nd goal of the season on the stroke of the 90th minute as Steve Bruce looks on, arms folded and a face like thunder. It is Leicester City 5, Newcastle 0.
Well, just when you thought it was that Leicester had settled for 4, Chilwell puts a good ball in, a little bit of a flick, and it's actually a really good finish by Ndidi. He's taken a ball down, it was a good touch, and he's turned on the volley and buried it into the bottom, into what was his bottom left corner. It was a really, really good finish.
I think Johnny Evans might claim an assist there because he just glanced the cross into the path of Ndidi, but again, he was given far too much time, Ndidi, to turn and get the shot away and smash it beyond Dubravka into the bottom corner.
You would say that he deserves a goal for his performance today. He's been absolutely excellent, but what he has done, he's allowed everybody else, because of his position and because of his break-up play, he's allowed everybody else to go and play, and it's always good when that type of player gets his reward by getting a goal every now and again. It just gives him a bit of a lift. So he's been excellent today, and he'll be a very, very important part of how Leicester and Brendan Rodgers wants his Leicester team to play moving forward.
Well, the good news for Newcastle is that there are only 3 added minutes until they will be put out of their misery. 3 more minutes for their travelling Toon army to sit through. Here's Atsu trying to force his way through a congested penalty area at the other end. Key holds it up and finds Paul Dummett, who will cross left-footed. Carroll, the target, easily defended by Soyuncu. He's not fit, Andy Carroll, is he?
No, it's going to take him a little bit of time. Newcastle don't really have that time at the minute though. They need to try and get him as much game time as they can, try and get him up to speed, because judging by the amount of possession that they relinquish, and you look at the possession stats, they will need territory. So when they do regain the ball, they'll need to get the ball up to him and get runners off him and try and create things from there, because Joelinton, I'm not too sure, is that type of player. It's going to be a conundrum as well for Steve Bruce. He's paid 50 million for Joelinton, but for me, I think Andy Carroll could be more effective in this team. But if he leaves a 50 million striker on the bench, then he's putting himself under even more pressure.
30 seconds of added time remaining. Leicester 5 goals to the good against this troubled Newcastle side, and they will be only 2 points behind Manchester City. Leicester in 3rd place in the Premier League table. Even at this early stage of the season, that is music to the ears of Foxes fans. Referee Craig Pawson has had one look at the watch, and there goes the full-time whistle on another chastening afternoon for Steve Bruce and for Newcastle United. They've been hit for 5 of the best from Leicester. A stunning victory for Brendan Rodgers' side. The big turning point, really, the sending off of Isaac Hayden for a terrible challenge on the stroke of half-time. They were 1-0 down already at that stage, Newcastle. Ricardo finding the net early for Leicester, added to by a couple of Jamie Vardy specials, an own goal from Paul Dummett, And then right at the end of the match, Wilfred and Didi giving us a final scoreline from the King Power. Leicester City 5, 10-man Newcastle 0. Ricardo driving.